who is part of the audience. Without further ado, I would like to indicate that since that this is a tripartite, and in terms of the program, Mr. Mashwahle, who is the DG of DPSA and AAPAM Vice President Southern Africa, has been summoned at short notice to go to the National Assembly in Cape Town, which is where our parliament is. So on his behalf, I'd like to welcome him, welcome all of you in terms of in his capacity as the Vice President of AAPAM. He was looking forward to hosting you in Southern Africa in particular, so that you could experience what we can offer in this part of Africa. So I'd like to welcome you in that regard. I will say more about the idea as we proceed, but I think the main thing is, on his behalf to say you are welcome. This is a tripartite. It originated at the Afri Summit. If some of you would recall, there was the UCLGA Afri Summit in Senti towards the end of November, beginning of December last year. That was quite a key occasion in South Africa. AAPAM, in their capacity as a professional institution, were granted 2 slots to facilitate 2 commissions. One of the commissions was on human resources strategies, and the other one was on the professionalization of local government, obviously within the context of the African Union vision. In that regard, we had a discussion with the DG and AAPAM to say maybe we need to take this agenda forward in a manner that we ensure that we derive the maximum value out of a structured partnership contribution to the achievement of the vision of the African Union. The Secretary General of AAPAM unfortunately couldn't make it at the Afri Summit, so we managed to facilitate together with the secretarial staff. Jessica is sitting at the back. Jessica came with another colleague from the Kenya. We managed to facilitate those sessions at the Afri Summit. So one of the resolutions was to create a platform like this to take the agenda forward in terms of the vision. So that is the genesis of this partnership. It has been in the making from December last year. So that is the culmination of today's us starting with this session. So we managed to facilitate the sessions in his absence, and now I'm welcoming you in the absence of my DG as well. So welcome once again. I must indicate that from a convener point of view, it's important for you as delegates to appreciate the amount of back office effort that is involved in trying to get 3 institutions to work together, or to get them to want to work together. So I hope that they continue to want to work together going forward. I was in a privileged position because I work for DPSA, and I happened to work with AAPAM at the Afri Summit, and I happen to have an association with the University of Pretoria School of Public Management and Administration. I used that exposure and experience to try to get what will work from each of the parties without disrupting their status quo. I'm a student of change management, so that I don't teach it, I practice it. So part of the recipe was to pick what will work from each of these institutions without them knowing exactly what is going on. Up to so even now, they're still wondering exactly what the big story is. It doesn't matter, you don't have to know, as long as we can get together and we can get working. So without further ado, I'd like to call Professor Chifika, who is the director of the school. She's also going to be delivering a paper, but she's one of the co-hosts that I had to convince from December. She said yes in February this year. And now here we are, Prof. The platform is yours to share with the delegates your vision in terms of, the co-hosting, where do you see the future? And you saw we labeled the conference the first one. So we've already committed to the second one, because we can't end with the first. We have to start with the first, and it has to continue. So we committed you on your behalf without consultation, Prof. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think I'm somewhat, can you all hear me? I'm somewhat privileged because although I was supposed to be one of the last speakers in the morning, I'm sort of coming in second to you. So just really to say from the University of Pretoria side, particularly from the School of Public Management and Administration, SPMA, I would really like, on behalf of my colleagues, to welcome everyone to this conference. We are privileged to be part of the three that are organizing this conference and co-hosting. So thank you very much, and thank you, Dr. Sokela, for involving us, for including us. I thought maybe I wanted to say a little bit about our school as well, so that for those who do not know us, you know us better. And all this in order for us to start collaborating more, associating more, forming networks and so on. That is really part of the reason for conference attendance, as you know. Apart from sharing our research and what we know and what we've been busy with, we also want to collaborate. So if you bear with me, I'm going to read a little bit some of the things from my laptop. I will not present them or project them. But let me start by saying that I've been very interested reading the UN reports on public administration and understanding human resource issues that are really at the forefront of what government does and at the forefront of governments within Africa and indeed throughout the world. And I specifically like the 2005 one, which is somewhat dated, but really has very relevant issues even for what we are talking about at this conference. One of the sentences that I like from that report, and which has been written in many places, is to say that good government requires good people. I've always thought this is important. This is a very deep sentence that we really sometimes ought to unpack. So this is perhaps something that we should think to talk about in other conferences that come through. But even during this conference, I'm sure we're going to unpack some of the issues of what good people are, what good officials are. And all of you, or many of you here, as you were introducing yourselves, you are those good people that are required by good governance. These good people ought to have many different characteristics, but one of them is skills, ability to perform work, but also other non-skill or softer characteristics, your behavior, your attitude, the way that you approach your people, the way that you approach your jobs is completely different from that perhaps in the private sector. So we in the University of Pretoria are participating, making a contribution towards producing these good people. That is part of the work that we do, and particularly in the School of Public Management and Administration, our mandate is indeed to make contributions towards producing the good people that are needed so that we have good governance. This is extremely important, and you know better than me, particularly those of you who are already working in governments, that governments today are challenged by so many issues.